As you are entering the seminar, I will start with a brief disclaimer. CLE presentations are intended for educational purposes only and do not replace professional judgment. Statements of fact and opinions are expressed of the presenters individually and unless expressly stated to the contrary are not the opinion of the Florida Bar or its committees. The Florida Bar does not endorse or approve and assumes no responsibility for the content, accuracy, or completeness of the information presented. Any feedback should be provided to the event organizer. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Florida Registered Paralegal Enrichment Committee's May 15th, 2026 free CLE webinar, Professionalism, No Excuses. During the webinar, if you have a question for the presenter, please post it in the question and answer section at the bottom of the screen. The chat feature will be disabled. Some of the questions will be answered by the presenter at the end of the presentation. Due to time constraints, there may not be time to answer all of the questions. At the end of the webinar, I will provide everyone with the course number, which you will use to self-report your credits in the member portal. We are not taking attendance. Also, if you happen to be hearing an echo on your video, it is likely that you have clicked the video twice and you have two windows open. Please leave the presentation and re-enter again. I will now turn it over to the FRP Enrichment Committee CLE Subcommittee member, Logan Bartholomew.
Thank you, Diana. The Florida Registered Paralegal Enrichment Committee invites all our participants today to visit the FRP Corner on the Florida Bar website, as well as our various social media platforms. It is there you will find helpful tips and announcements of upcoming events and our monthly webinars. You will also see that FRP Day will be held on Friday, June 19th, in conjunction with the Florida Bar Convention in Orlando. Events are free, but registration is required for the CLE. Please sign up today to reserve your spot. Our speaker today is Katie Jones. Katie is the Assistant Director of the Florida Bar's Henry Latimer Center for Professionalism, a position she has held since January 2020. Before joining the bar, she worked as a program specialist with the Florida Department of Education, where she managed school improvement grants and oversaw the School Advisory Council program. A native of Tallahassee, she earned her bachelor's degree in English with minors in business and education from Florida State University. She later completed a master's degree in educational leadership at the University of West Florida. In her current role, Ms. Jones supports legal professionalism initiatives and assists the Florida Bar staff in various professionalism efforts. She administers the Council to Council mentoring program, serves on the National Legal Mentoring Consortium Board, and is a certified facilitator for the Everything DISC Workplace Program. Thank you, Katie, for speaking to us today. I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Logan, for that introduction. And thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today. This morning, I'm going to share with you some information about the Center for Professionalism. We are going to look at what professionalism means in Florida. We're actually going to look at some common professionalism pitfalls that we see in everyday practice. We're going to give you some strategies to help you prevent those pitfalls. And then finally, I'm going to share with you some of the wonderful resources that we offer here at the Center for Professionalism. So, like Logan said, my name is Katie Jones, and I am the Assistant Director of the Center for Professionalism here at the Florida Bar. My role at the center is to really educate and promote professionalism to our legal professionals across the state. And I do that through several ways. We staff 4 committees here at the Florida Bar who really help support us in making those professionalism resources and programming possible. I do want to start with a little bit of history about the Center for Professionalism for any of our attendees who have not heard of us. So the center was created in 1996 as a joint project of the Florida Supreme Court and the Florida Bar. We were later named in 2005 after the late Judge Henry Latimer, who, if any of you have heard of Judge Latimer, he was really the epitome of professionalism. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary of the center, and there was actually a recent article that was posted from a former Florida Bar president, Michael Heiger, and it was a repost of an article that he had written back in 2021 that really talks about Judge Latimer and all of the important things that he did for the legal profession. So I encourage you, if you want to learn more about him and his wonderful legacy, to please check out that article. Our mission at the center is to promote the fundamental ideals and values of the justice system within the legal system, and to instill those ideals of character, competence, commitment, and civility in all those persons serving therein. And we really like to call those bolded words there that you see on the screen: character, competence, commitment, and civility. Those are the 4 C's of professionalism. And you'll hear me talk about those quite often during our session today. So like I said earlier, the center does staff 4 committees, which help support us tremendously in our professionalism endeavors. The first is the Standing Committee on Professionalism, and that committee has been with us since the center's inception, and they play a huge role in making our professionalism resources and programming possible. The next committee is the Student Education and Admission to the Bar Committee, and this committee really serves as a liaison between the law schools and the Florida Bar. So we have a lot of law school faculty and deans from across Florida's law schools serve on this committee, and we really work hard to ensure that our next and newest members of the Florida Bar are properly prepared and ready to be their best professional selves as they enter the practice of law. Our newest committee is the Mentoring New Lawyers Committee, and that committee was created in 2021. It was created as a special committee at first by then President Gary Lesser, who really wanted to create a mentoring program available for free for all Florida Bar members. So we are in the main purpose of the Mentoring New Lawyers Committee is to oversee that mentoring program, which is called Counsel to Counsel. So that program is in its 3rd year of inception, and we currently have almost 600 Florida Bar members participating in the program. Our mentors are any Florida Bar member in good standing who have 5 or more years of experience, and our mentees are any Florida Bar member in good standing who have 5 or fewer years of experience practicing in Florida. And then finally, we also staff the Leadership Academy Committee. This is not a new committee, it is new to the center. It became under our purview back in 2024, and it is getting ready to enter its 14th year. So we will welcome the year 14, class 14, in June at annual convention. So each and every one of these committees really help to support and help us produce the work that we're able to do here at the center. Skip to the end. All right, so now what I want you to do is, if you have your cell phone with you, take a moment to get out your cell phone and scan this QR code that you see on the screen. I know that we have several, I see 766 attendees here with us today. So please, if you can, take out your cell phone, scan the QR code, and answer this question for me. What does professionalism mean to you? So I'm going to give everyone a moment to get out your phones, scan the code, and answer the question. You can enter up to 3 words to describe professionalism. That was the wrong question. I'm sorry. For some reason, the presentation. Here we go. If you were not able to scan the code, now please scan that QR code and answer the question, what does professionalism mean to you? Now we see some responses coming in. If you were not able to scan the code, you can always enter at menti.com and enter in that code there. And we see some of what I'm seeing now: honesty, integrity, courtesy. Yes, these are all great words to describe professionalism. Ethical, respectful, grace. I love that. Reliable. Yes. Competence. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Kindness, accountability, patience, politeness, good customer service. Yes, that one too. That goes a long way today. I feel like that's something that we've seen a decline in. I love that. Competency. Yes, again. And you will see here, the bigger the word is the more responses that we've gotten. Ethics, reliability. Yes, we need to be dependable. That is a huge part of professionalism. So great responses there. So professionalism can be tricky to define, right? It's one of those things, kind of, you know it when you see it, right? We can all describe someone who's not professional, but it can kind of be difficult to describe what professionalism looks like. So professionalism is a higher standard. It goes beyond the rules. So to be a professional lawyer, you have to go above and beyond just those ground floor rules of ethical conduct. It's really about how we show up every day. It's a choice. How do we choose to show up to serve our clients, to serve our colleagues, and to serve our staff and each other? So I like to think about professionalism as the difference between doing what is required and really doing what is right. Choosing to do the honorable thing, even when no one's watching. And that's the big key there, is everybody can perform and be their best professional selves when they know they have an audience. But what's really hard is to do that also while no one's watching, because sometimes it can be easy to hide behind the screen or hide behind that email or the cell phone text messages. That's going to take more thought to really come across as your best professional self. So Florida Bar does have a written definition of professionalism, and we define that as the pursuit and practice of the highest ideals and tenets of the legal profession. And that is going to encompass those 4 C's. It is character, competence, commitment, and civility. So I like to make these actionable. So we should be trying to be a good character. And what does that mean? That means having high levels of integrity, being honest, being fair, and really working to have good working relationships with others. The next, be competent. So this is all about being prepared, being organized, showing up, ready to go. This is being committed to continuous learning, like you are here today doing. That is part of the commitment to the legal profession. As we know, the legal profession is always changing. It's changing every day. We've seen so many things just in the recent years, like AI. This is going to require us to stay on top and keep that growth mindset and really continue growing along with the profession. And then being committed to the profession. And what this is really going to look like is participating in bar activities, supporting access to justice, volunteering, getting involved in mentoring, really having pride in what you're doing in the legal profession and giving back. That's where we see the commitment part come in. And then finally, be civil. This is really the heart and soul of professionalism. We have to be civil, and sometimes it can be hard, especially when you are being faced with someone who's not being civil. But it is really about staying calm, staying composed, and most importantly, maintaining that respect, even when someone's not respecting you. So those are the 4 C's, and we really want the big takeaway here to be that professionalism is expected in Florida. It's no longer aspirational. We do expect it. I love this quote here that you see on the screen. This comes to us from the Louisiana's Practice Guide. And I'll read it to you quickly. Very generally, ethics is what lawyers are absolutely required to do. That's those ground floor rules of ethical conduct. Professionalism is what wise lawyers choose to do. A lawyer can be strictly ethical and still fall short of the ideals of professionalism. A good lawyer always strives to be both. So I love that quote there because it really simply separates what ethical behavior is from what professionalism is. And remember, ethics is those ground floor rules of professional conduct. We have to be ethical. Lawyers have to be ethical and follow the rules in order to remain in good standing as members of the Florida Bar. But professionalism takes that a step further. It's more about the choice that you make to constantly act out those 4 C's. And whether there's a rule requiring it or not, it's not about making mistakes or staying out of discipline. Professionalism is really about maintaining those highest ideals and tenets in the legal profession. I'm sure that we've all met that individual who they may have still been ethical. They may not have been breaking any rules or doing anything that is a level of bar discipline, but they're just not professional. We want to make sure that we are maintaining those highest ideals and tenets of the legal profession. All right, so this graphic here that you see on the screen, this is from the Gallup poll of honesty and ethics across various professions. So you can see here with the arrows that lawyers rank pretty low on this poll. They actually have a negative rating. And we've seen too in recent years that judges have actually began to fall on this ranking as well. So they are not quite at the net negative yet. They're still in the net positive, but it still means that we have work to do. Because why is professionalism important? It really matters because of public perception. So many people's opinions of the legal profession is formed from their own individual experiences. So it may have been that lawyer's call that they called their lawyer and they didn't receive a return call, or that email that they felt like they were dismissed. These are all things that the public perceives and helps to create their view of the profession. So this goes a very long way. Having someone who makes them feel heard, who can show empathy. We have to remember that we're serving people who are at some of the worst times of their lives. So really showing up, being professional, being courteous, picking up the phone when maybe you don't have to send the email, and just pick up the phone and call them. Those are just some little choices that we can make to really help the public perceive the profession in a higher way. So every few years, the Florida Bar sends out a membership opinion survey. And always, always at the top of this survey is poor public perception. Our members are worried about the way that the public perceives the profession. And they're worried about the entire way the justice system is being viewed as well. So the legal profession is about public perception. So it's really important that professionalism is not just about protecting individuals' reputations, it's more about the credibility of the entire justice system. Because really, if we think about it, clients do choose many of their lawyers based on their competence, but what they stay with their lawyers for is really that trust that they feel. They have to be able to trust that their lawyer is going to take their cases seriously and act with those high levels of professionalism. So now that we've talked a little bit about what professionalism means, now let's look at the sources that make up the standards of professionalism in Florida. So there are 4 sources that make up the standards of professionalism in Florida, and those sources are the professionalism expectations. We have the oath of admission to the Florida Bar, which all Florida lawyers take, and now that oath includes that civility clause. And like I said earlier, civility, that's probably one of the most important C's of professionalism. We have the Florida Bar Creed of Professionalism, and then finally, the rules regulating the Florida Bar. All of these sources here we have on our webpage, and our webpage serves as a hub of all professionalism resources and guides, CLEs. So on our webpage, we can be found easily from the Florida Bar's main page. There's a tab at the top that says Rules, Ethics, and Professionalism. And then if you go to Regulating Professionalism, that is where you'll find each of these resources that make up the standards of professionalism in Florida. I do know that the Oath of Admission to the Florida Bar is printed in every edition of the Florida Bar News and Journal. And we actually teach a diversion course here at the center for any attorneys who are avoiding discipline. And at our last one, we had a judge come in who actually had all the lawyers in there read the Oath of Admission again, which was really, really powerful. The Creed of Professionalism, we also have them read that in our diversion course as well. It's super important. And then the professionalism expectations too. So like I talked about earlier, the Florida Bar does send out a membership opinion survey every couple of years. So what we did is we went through that survey and we read all the responses from the respondents, and we took out 10 things that we thought were important that our members are seeing in their daily practice every day about professionalism. So we turned those into our 10 hot tips. So the first one is have a professional mindset. This is really about maintaining focus, even when we're in a stressful situation. We have to be able to remain calm and really remember, I like to think of this as really remembering your why. Why are you there? This will sometimes help ground us and make us not act out in a quick, brash way. We'll kind of remain calm and steady, even in those difficult situations, because the practice of law is adversarial. We are going to have stressful, difficult situations. We're going to be faced with incivility quite often. So number 2 we found was do not be a bully. We should never, we all hear about clients. This comes a lot from clients. Some clients, they want that bulldog bully per se. But we really can't let clients dictate the behavior of lawyers or of our legal staff as well. So we have to remember to always act professionally, because being a bully is really, it's not going to serve you well. It won't serve the client well. So that's a big one to remember. And then do not disparage. And we should never, ever, and this is another one that we see a lot of professionalism discipline on. We should never, ever belittle anyone. And that goes in person, in writing. Don't ever say anything that can negatively affect the view of someone else. And then number 4, be respectful and respectfully disagree. And again, I think this one goes back to civility. Practice of law, again, it's adversarial. You are going to be in disagreement. So it's really about choosing how you remain respectful even in that disagreement. And civility doesn't mean that you have to be soft. You can still firmly have a stance, but just remain calm and respectful in your responses. And then number 5, be honest, act morally, practice empathy. And I think that's huge here. So it's always easy for us to show up as our best professional selves when we're feeling good, when we're having a good day, when everything's going right in our lives. But we really have to think about, why is that person showing up that way? What could be going on? Maybe they have maybe they're caring for an ill parent, or stress at home, having to deal with issues with their children. We just never know what someone's going through. So that's going to be very important in practicing professionalism, is to be empathetic too of others. And remember our purpose, remember why we're here. And I think that's part of the commitment to the profession. Really value your community, find ways that you can give back to the profession. And those are really going to help us be our best professional selves. And then number 6, use candor and decorum. And we hear a lot about this one today from some of our standing committee on professionalism members who are also judges. You do have a duty of candor towards the tribunal and are expected to use the appropriate level of decorum. And this also goes, and we've seen this since COVID, this goes for in virtual settings as well. You are still expected to have that high level of decorum even in a virtual setting. Research local rules, another one that we hear of from judges. So you should always research the local rules so that you are clear on any practical or procedural rules that are required in that circuit. And then pleadings must be professional. This is another huge one that we hear about, and many of our judges speak about when we're hosting various CLEs on professionalism. They say they would not believe the things that they see in some of these pleadings. And now even more so with AI, I'm sure we've all heard those horror stories about AI and the fake cases that are cited. So we really have to do our due diligence and really make sure that our writing is really top notch. We don't have, we hear about spelling mistakes. So really try to check over any of those and make sure that all of our writing is high quality, because that really is a reflection on us professionally. And then number 10, do not use all caps. I was kind of surprised at this one when I saw it so many times. It's just never a good thing to use all caps, because you never know how that's going to be perceived. I would say don't use it unless maybe you're saying thank you or congratulating someone on something. It's just always better safe than sorry to not use all caps. And I know that it can be tempting sometimes, especially if you're going back and forth in emails and maybe you feel like that client isn't understanding you, in that case, I think it's just always better to just pick up the phone. So much miscommunication could be eliminated if we just pick up the phone.
Good morning. I'd like to speak to you today about one of the more difficult challenges that those of us who call ourselves professionals must face and deal with, and that is persons who are discourteous, disrespectful, and unprofessional in their behavior towards us. I'm reminded of a story I heard once about the two neighbors taking a walk in the neighborhood, and they came upon the mail carrier who serviced the neighborhood. One of the men, John, waved at the mail carrier and said, "Good morning." The mail carrier said nothing in response, ignored him, and walked on by. John's friend Bob looked over at him and said, "Why do you even bother? The man is so rude, and all the times we've seen him in this neighborhood and you waved to him, spoken to him, he's never returned, never said anything to you." John looked over at his friend and said, "Well, why should I let him decide whether I'm friendly or not?" Similarly, you shouldn't let other people who engage in unprofessional conduct towards you decide whether or not you are a professional. Now, it's very difficult. And when people treat you disrespectfully, discourteously, unprofessionally, it's very tempting for you to respond right away. But you need not, and you should not, engage on the level of unprofessionalism that you're faced with. Instead, I would urge you not to respond immediately. Listen calmly to what's been being said and how they're acting. Make a note of it. And when the person is finished, you can give your logical, rational response to it. If you get interrupted, which you might, wait till the interruption ceases and then give a response, if a response is in fact appropriate. And keep in mind that remaining calm is only part of the equation. You can be unprofessional and speak very calmly because you can make snide remarks and engage in name calling all while with a calm voice. So what you say and how you deliver it is just as important. So who knows, by acting professionally, you may change the behavior of others. But even if not, you will ensure that the only person who gets to choose whether you're a professional is you. Thank you.
And that video was from one of our Pro Tip Tuesday videos. And that resource is probably one of my favorite resources that we offer at the center because it really takes professionalism and makes it into real life practical advice. And I loved his message there that you should remain calm. That's a huge part of it. But you also need to think about what you're saying. Professionalism is a choice. So even though you may remain calm, you don't need to mumble under your breath any sort of curse words or anything like that, because that would make it calm but not professional. So I really love that message there. And I do see that we have a question in the chat, and I will read it. It says, the Florida Bar's Professionalism Expectations 6.10 instructs lawyers to respond promptly to inquiries and communications from clients and others. An amendment to remove and others from 6.10 goes into effect on Monday, May 18th, 2026. It said, it seems the Florida Bar does not expect lawyers to respond promptly to inquiries and communications from opposing counsel. And yes, I see that and others could cause some concern, but I do still like to think about it as a choice. So even with and others removed from there, I think it's just a common courtesy that we should respond to anyone, not just clients, but court staff, opposing counsel, anyone in a timely fashion. I know for myself, my rule, I try to do within 24 hours, I try to respond to an email if I'm in the office. If I'm not in the office, I try to always have an out of office reply on, letting those know that who are trying to contact me that yes, I will respond to you as soon as possible upon my return. But I do think a good professional timeline would be 24 hours to respond to someone's inquiry. And then another one, to whom do I report an professional radio advertisement for a law firm? Great question. That is going to be our ethics department. They do monitor all of our advertisements, and they have an ethics hotline that is available for you. So great question there. That you can find the ethics hotline phone number. It's toll free. You'll speak to a live ethics attorney. They're open during business hours, 8 to 5:30, and they should be able to help you with that. The Center for Professionalism does not take, and I'll kind of talk to you about this in just a minute when we get into regulating professionalism, but we do not take professionalism complaints. So we're more of a educational and resource department of the Florida Bar, and we do fall under the Division of Ethics and Consumer Protection. So we do work very closely with our ethics department, and we have a wonderful staff of attorneys over there. So I do suggest, if you do have something that you would like to reach out to them about, to reach out to our free ethics toll-free hotline. All right, so of course, today, in today's time, we are living in a virtual world, and professionalism does extend beyond just our normal face-to-face interactions. So one trend that we are currently seeing a lot of is the misuse of social media. So every person, even in your personal online interactions, these can affect your professional reputation as well. So you should always assume that nothing you post on social media is ever private. Once it's out there, it is out there. So this actual article here that I took a snippet of, it references a Florida attorney who was disbarred for her social media postings. She was disparaging a member of the judiciary. She participated in multiple outbursts with 2 attorneys, and she was ultimately disbarred because of this. So the Florida Bar and the Florida Supreme Court do take this very, very seriously. So it is really important to remember to be very careful with social media because, like I said, once it's out there, it's out there. People can screenshot any comments made. So that's just a good thing to remember, is that think about it before you post it. Pause, say, would I be okay with a judge seeing this? Would I be okay with this being read aloud in court? So just be very, very cautious when using social media. So since COVID, many of our interactions have been through screens rather than face-to-face, and this has made things much more convenient. We can easily get our CLEs now through webinars. We have Zoom hearings, but this has also created opportunities for a lot of mistakes and misunderstanding. So it's very important to understand that the professionalism standards still apply online, and sometimes even more so, because digital communication, like I said, once it's posted, it's out there and it's out there forever. There is a record of it. So before hitting send, always ask yourself, would I be okay with others reading this? Or even have somebody else come and read it for you. Sometimes when I'm writing an email with maybe someone that doesn't know me personally, I may have one of my colleagues come in and read it once over just to make sure that it's being interpreted in the way that I want it to be interpreted, and there's very little misunderstanding, because misunderstandings can happen so quickly in any type of digital communication. All right, so as I mentioned previously, Florida's professionalism standards does encompass all types of communication. This includes emails, text messages, phone calls, video meetings, social media, and remote interactions. The professionalism expectations were recently updated to include those video interactions with others. So that's very, very important that the standards of professionalism do still apply to those remote interactions as well. Especially since today's time, we're always connected. We have our cell phones beside us 24/7. So we have this 24/7 access to communication, which can be a great thing. But if we're not mindful about it, it can also not be a great thing, because we may want to feel the need to respond to that email that we got on our phone right away, or that text message right away. So it's just a really helpful reminder to just take time to pause. Don't feel like you have to respond right away. That will help you to or just write your response, save it, and then read it when you get into the office in the morning, and then decide if you want to send it then. So we have to remember to maintain professionalism even in those virtual settings. So if you're involved in a Zoom meeting, it's always important to remember things like checking your background, making sure to minimize any sort of distractions that you have. I think at the start of COVID, we probably all saw those background. I think the guy came across as a cat one time. There's all sorts of mishaps that we've seen involving Zoom. So it's really important to this just takes a little more time to prepare. Make sure that you have no sounds, kids in the background. A lot of us work from home now, so that's really important. And then you have confidentiality issues as well. Make sure you're in a private setting, especially if you are participating in a hearing, and encourage clients to do the same thing. We are still hearing war stories from some of the judges on our committees. I have one judge who actually has to put a disclaimer up on the screen before she begins the hearing that says, during this hearing, I expect that you are not driving a car. You're not anywhere else. We've heard of people being in the restroom during Zoom calls. I know in the beginning when I was teaching a diversion course, it was still over Zoom. They're now in person, but we could see, and these are attorneys who are avoiding discipline, and they would be in the background mopping their floors or vacuuming or smoking a cigarette. So these are things, it sounds like common sense, but they are still happening today. So it's just really important to make sure you're still upholding that level of decorum, even in a virtual setting, because the way that you are presenting yourself really does affect your reputation, and also the client's reputation as well. So I do want to transition into regulating professionalism. I'm just going to talk briefly about regulating professionalism because, like I said, we are not a disciplinary office of the Florida Bar. That does fall under our lawyer regulation, and we do not accept complaints. We do refer those out. But our attorney consumer assistance program, that is the first step in regulating professionalism. They do accept complaints from lawyers, from judges, and from the public. And then they investigate those complaints. They decide if they do have merit, then they will be sent on. And there is a disciplinary process and that includes grievance committees and includes case law, the rules regulating the Florida bar, as well as the Supreme Court Code SC 2023-0884. And then we have our local professionalism panels. And so what these panels do, they're separate from the Florida bar. The code for resolving professionalism referrals actually it says that these are required. Each circuit must have one, and they are able to receive complaints. And then they are more designed to be an informal process of dealing with professionalism issues. They're really designed to be more of a peer-to-peer mentoring type remedial process. They're more informal process. And so those are designed to really help mitigate those professionalism issues at the local level before they potentially move to the level of a Florida bar disciplinary case. And all of our contact information for the LPPs can be found on the center's website. There is a referral form on there. So if anyone ever does have a professionalism issue that they would like to be referred out to their local professionalism panel, we have all the circuits listed there, and they can fill out the LPP form and then be referred to that specific circuit. So now I do want to pivot and look at some of the professionalism resources that we offer here at the center. And like I said earlier, professionalism is expected in Florida. So with the support of our committees, we do work really hard to create timely and relevant resources that can be used by everyone in the legal community in Florida. So the first is our professionalism handbook. This handbook is published every 2 years by the Center for Professionalism, and it includes all things professionalism. It includes all of those sources that make up the standards of professionalism in Florida, as well as numerous other resources. We have a segment for young lawyers in there with tons of resources to help them as they're starting their practice of law. We do actually send these handbooks out to each of the law schools to use in their professional responsibility class. And this handbook is available on the Florida Bar's webpage. You can download it. We also have hard copies as well. So if you prefer hard copies, we're happy to mail those out. It's a really great resource just to have on your desk or to share with anyone. So we do offer ongoing professional development through our free CLEs. All of our free CLEs that we offer at the Center for Professionalism are free to all of our members. And we are trying to consistently provide relevant and timely CLEs. We produce several a year. Our committees are always working on new CLEs. We're actually hosting one at this very time, but here's just a look at some of our recent ones that we've done. And the first is growing Roots to Results, growing through mentorship. Mentorship is a big part of professionalism. It's a great way to help to increase professionalism and really help to prepare our younger lawyers with the resources that they need to be their best professional selves. So that was a recent CLE that we hosted. It was really great. It included a lot of law school deans, and they actually had their mentee join the webinar as well. So it was a great conversation that we heard from the mentees, what they were learning from their mentors, as well as what the mentors were learning from their mentees. The one you see in the middle is Attempted Intelligence. And this is actually one that we produced last year, but this CLE by far has been our most popular CLE to date. We have had thousands and thousands of views on this CLE. And because AI is such a hot topic right now, and I will say that really Florida has been at the forefront of staying on top of AI. So it's a great CLE. It talks a lot about the ethical considerations to make when using AI, because right now, if you're not using it, you're probably falling behind. So it has a lot of great things, but we just have to be mindful and really have to know how to use it professionally and especially ethically. And then the next one was another one that we just hosted, Civility, the lawyer's duty to the profession, the courts, and each other. This is another great CLE that had some of our law school faculty on it. So it was great to hear their perspective of some of the issues that they're seeing at the law school level, and really how they're trying to work to make it more civil, because as we all know, law school can be very, very competitive. So they're really working hard to make it more of a collegial environment. And that way, the next lawyers coming up to the Florida bar will already have some of those professionalism ideals already instilled in them and really understand the importance of it. So I encourage you to check those CLEs out, as well as some of our others. They are all available on the Florida Bar's CLE on demand page. You can also find them on the Center for Professionalism page as well. I'm going to take just a moment to look at the Q&A really quick before I move on. Let me see. Hi, Diana. Can you please ask Katie to talk about emails becoming part of a motion that is filed with the court? I've seen that. Yes, I've heard about that from many of our judges who have done CLEs. We did have one not too long ago. It's not on here. I don't have the ad on here, but it's on our CLE page. And this judge specifically addresses that. So it's very important that our emails are professionally written as well. Thanks, I appreciate these CLEs so much. Yes, I will say that this judge specifically mentioned that. She says that she has had emails with no greetings. It's kind of lost all formality, no more Your Honor or Dear Judge. She says it's just blankly saying what they're asking for in the email with zero formality. So that is something we really, really want to stress. And this is, she was on the one that she had her mentee on, and she's like, this is something I really stress to my mentee. We have to remain formal in our emails as well. This is part of professionalism. And then another, I just wanted to share that I had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Latimer earlier in my career in the early 80s in Fort Lauderdale. Yes, we get that a lot. We receive emails all the time of people who are saying how well they knew Judge Latimer and just what an amazing person he was and how much impact that he had on their lives. And with it being the Center's 30th anniversary, we are just so honored that we get to carry on his legacy. I may have missed it, but did you say these CLEs are on your website? Yes, they are. You can find all of them free on our website. They are also listed, I believe the Florida Bar did a new website or a new page straight from their main page of free on-demand CLEs. You can also find us there. How can I get a copy of the handbook? Feel free to email me. I'll have Diana, if you could put my email in the chat or the Q&A, please, so our attendees have that. I received an email not long ago where the paralegal offered dates for a hearing and ended it with LMK. Yes, yes, we see that all the time. And this is something I have to teach my kids. I have a middle schooler, 7th grade. Don't send this. Don't text me that. Just spell out the word. It's professional, it's courtesy. It's this digital time that we're living in that has made everything want to be shorter and abbreviated, but that is not helping us at all professionally. All right, so another one of my favorite resources that we have at the center is our podcasts. So each of these podcasts, they're all under an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, and they all include free CLE. So we have a lot of our members who will get all of their CLE credits just from listening to our podcast because it's such an easy way, right? We can listen to them in the car, on the way to the office, at the gym. I know I listen to some while my kids are at practice. So it is just a great, simple, easy way to earn free CLE credit. And the first one that we have here is Never Contemplated. This was the first one that we created back in COVID. And during COVID, we really had to be intentional with how we reach our members, right? Because we were in person, and a lot of what we do is education and outreach, and it was at that time in person. So we were like, oh goodness, how can we reach our members and provide them good professionalism resources? So a podcast was one of those ways that we came up with. This one is hosted by our SCOP member. She's a judge, a local judge to Tallahassee. Her name is Judge Desai, and she just does a great job at interviewing. This Never Contemplated is specifically women in the legal profession, which is so interesting. They're here, their diverse backgrounds, the different paths that they took to make it where they are today. And then the second one is on civility. This one is hosted by another member of our committee, Maggie Ozorowski, and this one, hence the title, it's all about civility. She talks with judges, lawyers, different legal leaders about the current state of the profession and how we can really encourage civility throughout what we do. And then we have, I know we're running a little close on time, so I may move quickly through here. The next one. The next one is our newest podcast, which is the Lawyer Leader podcast. And what is so great about this podcast is it is produced and created by our Leadership Academy class. The past 2 years, they've worked on this podcast. So not only are they creating free resources for our members, but they're also gaining leadership skills throughout this with their interviews that they do. They are interviewing various legal professionals across the state, and it's talking about all things leadership, their professional brand, way to increase communication. So it is just a really great podcast. Again, it's on our webpage or on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, any of those. So I do want to talk about wellness, because we can talk about professionalism all day long, but if we are not showing up as our best professional selves, if we are stressed, if we are feeling demands at home, if we feel like we cannot balance it all, wellness is so important. So we do have the Florida Law Lawyers Helpline. Please write this number down. It is a great resource for all of our members and paralegals. You can be referred for up to 5 free counseling sessions, and it's a wonderful thing to have. And you don't just need this in a crisis situation. It could be anything that you have personal in your life going on that you just need to talk to someone about. I do want to show you a quick video from our Florida Bar president who gives you a little bit more information about this helpline.
Hello, my name is Rosalind Saya Baker Barnes, and I am your Florida Bar president. In our profession, it's common to experience high levels of stress and to feel overwhelmed from time to time. This can negatively affect you, your client relationships, and the quality of legal services provided. To be our best, it's important that we prioritize our mental health and well-being. This allows us to be effective advocates, provide sound advice, and meet the demands of the practice of law. To assist lawyers, the Florida Bar provides a wonderful benefit, the Florida Lawyers Helpline. This benefit is available 24/7 to all Florida lawyers and registered paralegals. Each member receives up to 5 free life coaching and 5 free counseling sessions a year. And all calls to the helpline are 100% confidential. Your personal information is not reported to the Florida Bar, and all calls are answered by trained and licensed clinicians from CureLink, an outside provider. The helpline also provides additional tools and emotional well-being resources, such as career coaching, referrals, online group support, text support, and coaching by licensed clinicians. Call the Florida Lawyers Helpline or log into your My Florida Bar member portal to connect with the third-party provider, where these benefits are available to you confidentially and at no cost. Please make your health and well-being a priority. Completely confidential support is just one phone call away. Take advantage of this unique benefit and share this video with your colleagues.
Yeah, so please, if you have not already written down that number, please do that, or you can visit the Florida Bar's Health and Wellness Center, which was created by the Florida Bar's Mental Health and Wellness for Florida Lawyers Committee. They really do have some great resources to support the legal community and Florida Bar members. So I just want to be respectful of your time today, so we are going to get ready to close. I want to give you one final thought to leave you with. Ask yourself, what do you want people to say about working with you? What choice do you want to make to show up every day as your best professional self? And these are just some of the words that I added to the screen that I like to think of as showing up as my best professional self. What I want people to say about me: professional, respectful, trusted. I want to be known as calm under pressure and prepared. And I want to say thank you to each of you for giving me your time and attention today. And thank you for the important work that you do for the legal community and the Florida Bar. Diana, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. And thank you everyone again for attending today's webinar. The course number for today's webinar is 5581. Again, the course number is 5581. This webinar has been approved by the Florida Bar Continuing Legal Education Department for 1 hour of general CLE credit and 1 hour of professionalism credit. Again, the course number is 5581. Please self-report this course in the member portal. You will receive an email tomorrow via Zoom outlining this information along with a copy of today's slides. As Katie mentioned, we like to reiterate and encourage Florida Bar members and Florida registered paralegals to take advantage of the Florida Lawyers Helpline, which is a completely confidential and free service which entitles you to 5 counseling sessions per year to help you develop strategies to overcome life's challenges, balance priorities, and better handle both personal and professional pressures. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you.